So tell me why you think the deadlift is not such a great idea for those who have low back pain or have a history of low back pain. I'm not saying that I agree or disagree or you're right or wrong, but I am going to share with you my experience of working with many cases of low back pain and the deadlift. So for me, in my clinical practice, it's actually absolutely important that someone who's hurt themselves, especially during the deadlift, but who has low back pain, to reinvent or recreate that movement pattern for them as part of their rehab for their low back injury, as well as possibly preventing future occurrences. So the deadlift classically is categorized as more of a hip hinge pattern. And for me, I like to look at it more as a push-pull stiffening or stabilizing or full body tensioning patterning, okay? Now, when I say push, that's anytime you move something away from your body. Pull, the opposite, is when you pull things closer to your body. So in the deadlift pattern, you're pushing the ground away from you, or you're pushing the earth away from you, where that's mostly from the knee joints, ankle, and feet joints, right? The pulling component is coming from the hips. That's the hip hinge. So that's why when you bend forward, the hips hinge, the hips go, you sit back, and as you come up, you're actually pulling the hips towards you. So that's where the pulling component. So anytime you have a push-pull exercise, and that's why the deadlift is very special, is that it's one of the few weightlifting exercises where you have both components that are necessary for the movement, especially when you're lifting heavy load from the ground. So because there's a push and a pull, significant push-pull component, that demands a tremendous amount of full body stiffening or full body tension. That's what the trunk, your core, your upper body in general is doing. They're just staying stiff so that the movement's primarily coming from your legs. Problems arise is when you start moving too much from areas that are supposed to be stiff. That's why people's back hurts. That's why people tear biceps. That's why people have injuries or problems in their upper body from the deadlift. So another reason why I love teaching this pattern and progressing one to heavier and heavier loads is that it teaches, like I said before, full body tension, maximal full body contraction, where everybody just goes Super Saiyan, where they just tighten up and they're able to summate a tremendous or significant amount of forces. So if we lose that capacity, or if we don't have that capacity to do that, that's okay. Nature has its ways of balancing things out. If we can't do that externally, then what happens is, over time, the body does that internally. What do you think sclerosis is? What do you think plaque hardening of the arteries or atherosclerosis is? What do you think stasis or constipation? What do you think are tumor formations? What do you think? And I can go on. Basically, it's nature's way of stiffening or creating stability or creating that full body tensioning, but from the inside out, all right? I guess it's possibly nature's way of trying to provide some kind of stability through compression, in a manner that is to give the organism, our body, a somewhat more survival or safety components. So we can actually use our neuromuscular system to enhance or improve that capacity for full body tensioning. So that's not really often talked about with deadlifts. You don't have to be a world champion powerlifter. You don't have to be able to deadlift 2, 3, 4 times your body weight. Personally, for me, minimum is probably about just your body weight. If you can do twice your body weight, that's great. I don't really see a need unless you have to lift cars for a living or move cars, I don't know, manually. But more than that, I guess it's just for your ego aggrandizement, as they call it, which is fine. We all gotta, find our self-worth in this world and find value. But anyway, just consider that the deadlift is very, very useful in cases of low back injury rehabilitation. And I think it's actually the most important thing for them to, most important and most beneficial exercise or modality for them to include into their program.